Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video for Path of Exile 1, and we're going to talk about the Puppeteer Animate weapon build and a couple of notes first. I know some people are laughing saying that, oh, we made a spider build and it doesn't use spiders. Oh, now we made a Puppeteer Animate weapon which was supposed to dual wield. I'll talk about that in a moment. Turned out that it didn't in the end. I just want to point out that the spider build is using spiders till you get to medium budget where you do the Uber lab and then you move away from spiders. And that is a bit disappointing. I was very excited about that, but that's the case. I'm also a little disappointed that this build didn't keep the dual wield strategy because we talked about doing that, running versatile combatant. Then we were going to pick up nodes like this, blade barrier, give us block on dual wielding. Nodes like the swagger for block on dual wielding, and we still picked up nodes like this because they gave us block chest whether we were dual wielding or wielding a shield. Problem was that the double trigger one setup basically removed access of having control of when we cast our Bladefall, because the way this build works is that we cast Bladefall, and you can see on the ground there will be these lingering blades. Those are the ones we use to summon our animate weapons. So we moved over to removing the trigger, and as we removed the trigger, there was really no point in running dual wield anymore, because now the whole purpose of that just disappeared. So now we would be better off using something like, well, in my case, I happened to get a convocation. You don't have to do that. But we wanted to get plus level of minions, maybe even minion damage, which I don't have on my current shield. So it's a bit disappointing that we ended up not going dual wield with this character, but it did work. It just wasn't as comfortable. Another change that we've done since the video and the testings that we have done is going through whether or not we were going to use melee or ranged animate weapons. And I'm going to talk about that briefly. Basically, what happens with Ascendancies in Path of Exile 1 is that they give us a front load of power outputs. We can take something like the Necromancer Ascendancy outside of this event, where we get more minion damage, we get Commander Darkness. All of these things provide a front load of power. And this is more important when it comes to something like the Servant of Arakali, giving us a free level 15 Envy, which is ridiculously overpowered, giving us power from the Act 3 Labyrinth, the first lab you do, to basically carry you into yellow tier maps with that mod alone. And then most of these builds will also go for Skin Crawlers, which gives you the Wither and the Poison. And suddenly those two Ascendancies is enough power to drag you through red tier maps in the utmost terrible gear you can find. When I played the Spider build, we were running red tier maps in a fucking 4-link. However, the Puppeteer does not bring this to the table. What the Puppeteer is doing is having Rotting Might, which is half your strength to minions, which is very useless, to be honest. But it gives us extra strength, which is a tiny bit of HP. And but first and foremost, we are picking up marionettes, and this gives us a humongous quality of life feature through additional copies when we animate weapons, which makes resummoning weapons very, very, very smooth. But it also gives some defense to the AG. We don't really care too much about that. However, it does give our animated minions melee splash. And this means that if we do run a melee animate weapon, we essentially get a free socket because we can run pure single target links on our animate weapon while still having the melee splash for the AoE clearing. And, it just means that this gives us another support gem in the early game, but it doesn't give us anything later. And then third lab, we pick up Feeding Frenzy. So the way the Ascendancy is working for Puppeteers, we start with Marionettes, then pick up Rotting Might, which is kind of useless. So I didn't even pick this up till I was ready for the third lab, and went to Feeding Frenzy, which makes the minions aggressive, which is, yet again, a quality of life feature, not a front load power. However, the minion base attack crit is equal to the crit strike chance of your main hand weapon, allowing you to do something like this, where you get a +1 or preferably +2 weapon that has a local critical strike modifier that applies to the weapon, which means that the minion's base crit becomes the base crit of what this weapon has. And then in the Uber lab, we pick up Marination to help minions survive. So let's compare the reason for Marination, because we're going to run Eldritch Battery, and thank God the approach of Devouring Diadem is extremely cheap at the moment. 19k for these exact rolls. However, you can buy this for like 13 Cs. Very, very cheap and easy to get. However, this doesn't give us anything that we need for us, but it does give our minions defensive layers. The problem with melee animate weapon compared to range is that they do require a lot of investment into personal defenses. This means that things like a Fortress Covenant for block is very attractive, as well as picking up Decay Ward for even further defenses to them is very, very attractive. And this is also why we're not running. If you look at the minions HP here, they have 15,000 life. But if I put minion damage on them, their life goes down to 11k. So we're deliberately not using minion damage as a support, no matter if it's better or not, because the difference is very small because of their HP. And then this life gives them 3,000 energy in a low budget. So that is the reasoning for this. So we decided to go back to melee animate weapon to benefit from the Puppeteer's Ascendancy nodes. And I will point out that this is not a meta build. I believe that the Servant of Akali is outperforming this build, but it allows you to have a different playstyle. I have been playing in-game, clearing all of the in-game content with a medium body version of this build, which is luckily pretty cheap. However, the Dragon's fights that we originally planned to using, well, it's pretty expensive. It was up on 10 divines when I posted this. They should go down pretty quickly. So that's why we changed around to using a Jinx Juju, which is very, very cheap in the early stage. And we also went for Arcane Guarding Oiling instead of a Spectre. So I'm going to talk about the low budget and go from there and basically progress from this point on. Essentially, I'm going to take you from the campaign leveling stage of level 1, starting off your character and moving forward. Unlike my previous POBs, I do not have those things inside this path of building, and we will unlikely make a written guide for this, since the event is only going to last a handful of more weeks, so we'll have this video for it instead. Essentially, in the leveling progression, you're going to spec from these nodes up here. Pick up Discipline Training if you want to. I would only grab Retribution and then grab Enduring Bond. Then move to Sacrifice, Spiritual Command through the life nodes. Go to the nodes of Righteous Armor Redemption. And this is where I would pick up the Aura nodes and allow me to run with the Clarity. And then having Clarity together with Precision, I would then spec these nodes in here for Heart and Soul, Lord of the Dead, and move my way up to Eldritch Battery if I feel like I need it. And this depends on the mana cost of your animate weapon and the level of your Clarity to keep that mana regen. It was pretty smooth. I didn't get the Eldritch Battery very late. And then later on, once you start white tier maps, you can pick up, or even sooner if you have the money, pick up that Devouring Titan, which cuts these points out of the tree entirely. Skip the crit early on and then just grab the life node as you progress, and then you can start going downwards towards Grave Pact first, pick up Sanctuary. Now you're going to wheel a shield, get some extra rest, move down further down here and grab the rest of the nodes, which is just defensive oriented. The bandits, we are going to help Alira for extra resistances. Bandits, we're going to be using, Pantheons, we're going to use Lunaris and Gruthkul for extra defensive mitigations. As you can see here on the defenses, this is an extremely low budget, which is what I always do with my low budget builds. And this is pretty low fizz hit, so you will experience some squishiness once you start doing maps. It was fine up until that point, but once you start doing maps, you'll notice a pretty hefty drop on physical damage mitigation. So what we're going to use is in the mapping stage is that once your Spectre gem is level 18, the gem itself, not with all the plus, when the base gem is level 18, same with the Animate Guardian, that's when you can freely activate these things, and I would recommend doing it after you picked up the Uber Lab. And at that point, you can run Animate Guardian and raise Spectres, and we're going to be using a Perfect Guardian Turtle. I believe they cost about 30C. Let's find out. Perfect Guardian Turtle. Okay, they've gone up in price, so be mindful. This is the first initial step to fixing the physical damage mitigation. It is, however, the most expensive item that you'll find in this POB. Animate Guardian, you can check that in the gear here by hovering over AG config. We're just using Dying Breath and a Leer cast. And then the boots is implicit, crafted with Eldritch Orbs for Brittle Ground. You can just buy these for a couple of chaos on the market. You can run whatever gloves you want. And the chest, you can run whatever you want. Try to get some chaos rest for him to keep him alive. If you have the money, you can buy something like a Gruthkul. Gruthkul is pretty expensive in the current league. At the current pricing, this is a very nice sustained form. So this is what I would recommend if you have the money. The second Spectre we're going to be using is an Arena Master. You can just come to the global channel I made in game by typing /global6666 to ask for them in there. So that's how the low budget is set. Skill, where you have all of the skills in the POB. I'm not going to prolong this video too much. However, it is using Spirit Offering in the late game. So when you're leveling, here's the plan. Level 1, Rolling Magma. You'll use Rolling Magma till you reach level 8 inside the prison, which is over here. Once you are level 8 and you access the prison, you can buy a Melee Splash for 1 transmutation, and Radiant Spirit you'll get access to from the from the Mudflats. Once you have that, you want to have a minion damage, Radiant Spirits, and Melee Splash support, and you'll run that 3-link all the way up till you get level 12 and access the Merveil's Caverns. At this point, you'll switch over to Absolution, which should be Absolution minion damage, and then either added Fire or added Lightning, because those are the gems you get as a Templar. You'll run with that till you get to Act 2, and that's when you change Absolution, mini damage, and then physical to lightning. It's a blue support gem, which you get access to, I believe, after killing Weaver's Chambers. And that's your 3 link to play with. You can add the Heraldal Purity to get some extra defensive layers, but do not forget to pick up a Clarity in Act 1. And at this point, you're going to play with that till you reach Act 3, finish off the library quest, as well as finish the first lab. The first lab is, as described, going to be marionettes. At this point, you're going to want to run Animate Weapon, melee version. Now, they don't need melee splash supported, so you're going to run with Animate Weapon, minion damage, brutality, and then you can have minion speed if you want the quality of life from it, or you can run melee physical, depending on what kind of 4-link you have access to. And that will be the 4th gem for that. And as you're running that, that will be very smooth. But you also need to pick up a level 1. Don't level it. It's no point. Bladefall. And this is what gives you the access to support that with a spell cascade, which allows you to create a lot of lingering blades on the ground. And thanks to the Ascendancy, every cast will summon 2 weapons. 3 cast 6, 4 cast 8, and 5 cast 10, etc. First couple levels, pretty all right. Felt pretty good. You'll just resummon them. Thanks to the Clarity, you're going to sustain this pretty effectively. And then as your gem levels up, every 2 levels of your Animate Weapon gem gives you another minion. And it just walks from there. It was very comfortable to play with this. Aura-wise, at this point, you're going to run a Pride Aura. Unless you need the resistances, then you run the Purity of Elements. Together with that Clarity still to keep that up. You can drop the Hero Purity in the switch as well. And after this, you want to start moving on with the entire low-budget build. However, you will be using Flesh Offering when you're doing this leveling. You'll only pick these crit nodes up and start using the Spirit Offering once you have access to an actual weapon that gives you crit, such as this local crit mod here to increase the crit strike chance of your main hand weapon. That's when you can start doing the crit style. And I would recommend to skip the second lab and only do that when you're ready for the third lab, and then do both of them back to back, because this one barely does anything for you. And then pick up Feeding Frenzy, and now you're just walking from there. So the build felt a bit squishy in the low budget stage, which is kind of to expect when you kind of when you want to keep the budget down to this degree. And then you want to do the initial upgrades towards medium budget. So I'm going to show you that. You click on loadout, click medium budget, and now we're switching into actually picking up defensive layers to make sure the Animate Weapon survives in the higher content in the game. And this is the new tree. Very simple, very small changes. This is extremely low budget for the low cost of the medium budget. We have a very simple 12 passive cluster, not even having increased effect on nodes. We have really bad rolls. There's some attributes if you need to, and or resistances, which you can compensate on your other gear pieces and go from there. Skills are the same. However, the specters changes. So now we're going to be running a perfect forest warrior. We're going to be running a perfect guardian turtle still, and we're going to be running a perfect blood demon. The perfect blood demon is the first step where you can remove the use of Pride Aura yourself, and instead you'll run Vitality instead. We have it here. Run Vitality and Tempest Shield to get yourself more block chance. Keep in mind the Vitality shouldn't be maxed out, so keep that lower level to make sure you have enough to reserve all your auras, since we'll be using Devouring Diadem for the Eldritch Battery. So that's how we progress this build. And as you can see now, in the defensive stats are going up quite drastically. The Perfect Guardian Turtle is the first big step in achieving this. The next big step for this is actually getting yourself Replica Dragonfang to make it smooth, but you can still use the Juju if it's too expensive. Get yourself a Darkness and Throne. We can get a Fortress Covenant. Last I checked, they were pretty expensive, so don't do this. Pick this up as your last item. You can grab something like a Watcher's Eye, which gives you physical damage mitigation when you're affected by a Determination Aura, which you do get thanks to the Perfect Guardian Turtle. And the other step that you can do is actually pick up a Brass Dome, which was surprisingly pretty cheap even for a 6-link with 5+ to max all rest. This gives us very good mitigation for Elemental compared to what we have in the low budget, but it also helps that physical damage mitigation. It is still not a super tank build, but it does provide you with a very smooth progression with the build, and that allows you to take more hits, and you're completely immune to crits, which makes it easier the higher tier content as well. And that kind of finalizes the medium budget version. Obviously, we'll be running better rolls on flasks, for example. We'll have flagellant flasks. I do want to point out that life on jewels is attractive, but we don't have that on every slot. But if you do get access to them, they can be a bit pricey, so be mindful. You will prioritize having 2 damage mods. I picked up the worst version of them in this build, again, to keep the costs down by just having attack speed and flat fizz. But you can have jewels like in the low budget build has this as well. flat fist, attack, cast speed. But if you pick up jewels like, let's see if I can find one, like this one here, this one has physical on attack, cast speed. The accuracy isn't needed for this version, thanks to Great Pact. We have this one right here, which is minion damage recently, together with flat fist, which would be more damage than the attack cast speed for this PoB. So what we're doing is we're prioritizing damage output rather than life on jewels, which is very uncommon for me. Normally, I would tell you to always make sure that all your rare items have life, which applies to every slot that you have, except for the jewels for this specific build, to boost up the damage as much as possible. And that kind of summarizes the PoB and what we've been doing here. It's very comfortable. It's been very fun to play. You can have some really nice effects from your Eldritch Implicits, or for example on boots, you can get increased effect of buff from your Chaos Golems, which will further increase your physical damage mitigation to help boost this fist max hit number a bit more. The build's been very comfortable to play. I've been doing all the endgame content, and the build has been kind of cheap except for the Dragon's Flight. And I haven't bought the Fortress Covenant yet. I did buy a Watcher's Eye and a Watcher's Eye. I can actually show you on trade how that looks. You'll do a search like this. We'll do this, affected, termination, fist, reduction, and you search for this, and you'll see that these are going for 40, 60 chaos. This is a 5 roll, that's a 6 roll. Here's a 7% that maxed out at 8%, 70 chaos, and it gives you tons of physical damage mitigation. If you really want to juice it up, you want to spend money, what you do is you pick up an armor while affected by determination as well, and now they're going to be a bit pricey if you try to do that, but that would be a really nice addition if you like to do that. That's basically it. I don't really have much to say. I'm a little disappointed that we weren't able to keep the dual wielding on this one. At least the spider build uses spiders up until Uberlab, but this one is going to scrap the dual wielding entirely. And that's about it. I've been having a lot of fun with this build. Hope you will too. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the build. And do keep in mind that my budgets are designed to be extremely affordable. So the low budget gear is ridiculously cheap. The medium budget, they've kept the budget down, the medium budget as well. So if you're looking at the build, just keep in mind that the cost of this is going to be very, very, very manageable for most people, if not all. Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe. Keep rocking.